In this video, I'm demonstrating a simple mixing protocol that is using timing for the dispensing timings here. So it's assuming 5 seconds to allow the split to occur on the dispense, and it mixes around 4 times, and then performs a split by, we'll see it will align along the middle here and try to center the droplet volume, and then perform the split to try to get it as even as possible. Now, this is repeatable on this chip where the left side gets more volume, and so I'm bringing to compensate for that and allow the protocol to repeat. I'm pulling the liquid back into the corresponding reservoirs, and then bringing the entire reservoir volume from both of the reservoirs onto the chip, merging them together, and then splitting that bulk volume into 2 again, so that both reservoirs should have approximately the same starting volume for the next iteration. Now, as I mentioned, the split that's performed after the mixing is repeatably larger daughter droplet on the left-hand side. And so this suggests that it's a property of the chip and the electrodes on the chip, and maybe the surface, so different factors on the chip, and not of the liquid. And so we'll see again that when it splits, we seem to get more volume on the left daughter droplet. Now, with our multi-sensing feedback IP, we can perform closed loop control on that split to ensure that regardless of the chip characteristics, you should get a much closer volume between the left and the right daughter droplets. I was able to repeat this. This is now the 10th repeat. I set the timings by assigning a message prompt to each of the steps where a split occurred. So for example, I'll run it again, and we can put dispense complete, question mark, and now when we run, let's see, we'll proceed until it gets to that step, and then it will sit and wait for us to respond. If we click cancel, the protocol will end. If we click OK, the protocol will proceed. And you can check the step time to see how long the dispense is taking. And so I did that, and it was under 5 seconds. So I set the time to 5 seconds and took the message away. So I did that for any steps where there was a split that was occurring. So it's not just detecting a split or a merge. So the steps where, for example, here in this split, it's only based on time right now, but I put a prompt in to see what that time was. The same is true for this merging of the droplets when I'm bringing them back into the reservoirs, and then as well as the next step, where you'll see we're performing a merge of these 2 reservoir bulk drops. And because we don't know exactly how long that's going to take, and capacitance measurements alone won't be able to, the threshold capacitance won't be able to tell us whether that is completed or not, put in messages on those steps, waited, and then empirically determined the appropriate time to wait. So I'm going to click cancel this time to demonstrate what happens, and it says that the step was canceled in response to that message prompt. Now, one other thing to note that is on all of the route steps, I'm using the volume threshold parameter, and so on this example I'm using a trail length of 3. So in this step, when it starts in the reservoir, it will turn on 3 electrodes at a time, we'll start here, turn on 3 electrodes at a time, and wait until 75% of the expected capacitance area, or the capacitance indicates that 75% of the electrode area is covered. And similarly, when I'm and the reason that I did a trail length of 3 is because in this step it will be moving the entire reservoir volume. On steps, once the split, once the dispense has occurred, then the daughter droplets are smaller, so they're just slightly under 2 electrodes worth. So I set the trail length to 2, but the expected volume threshold I just set to slightly over half. So that means that slightly over 1 electrode's worth of liquid before turning on the next 2 electrodes in the sequence. And that makes sure that there's some overlap with the proceeding electrode before turning off the electrode behind it. So I'll take this message out and we'll watch it again, and this time just watch for the volume thresholds in the trail length. So I will turn on real-time mode so that I can get the droplets back to their initial state. And here I'm using the directional controls by holding the control key and using the arrow keys to turn those droplets, or those electrodes on in sequence. Okay, now I will press play, and again, watch for the trail length. So trail length of 3 turns on 3 electrodes, waits till 75% of the expected area is covered before continuing. This is a time-based step split. Now we're only turning on 2 electrodes at a time and waiting. In this case, we have the overall drop volume is quite high. So then we're turning on 2 electrodes, but we're saying the volume threshold needs to be 1. So have the 100% of the expected electrode area to be covered before continuing. Split occurs. Here again, 2 electrodes turned on at a time, and 60% of the expected volume. We're moving the full bulk from the reservoir, so again, trail length of 3 to help move that faster. The merge, again, is just timed. The split is also timed using a 5-second delay. This is using capacitance feedback to make sure that it won't continue until the volume threshold is met. And that's it. And it will keep repeating as many times as you have said in the repeat input box.